Hello and welcome to your tarot forecast for the full moon in Aquarius 2022. So if you are new to this channel and new to these readings, welcome. I am Michelle Walker. I am an intuitive coach, Reiki healer, yoga instructor, and oracle deck creator living in Chicago, Illinois, and I do these readings every new and full moon. There is a shorter reading, which is probably what you're watching now, on the general collective channels of YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and then there's also an extended reading that happens over on my Patreon. So patreon.com/Michelle Shea is where all the action is happening, but this is a little taste of what you get over there. So on my Patreon, depending on the level you're at, you get weekly pick-a-card readings, monthly tarot scopes for each zodiac sign, you get these extended readings at both the new and full moon, and you get free access to my live full moon events that happen the Sunday after every full moon. That is coming up this Sunday, so if you want to join in for that and you're not interested in the Patreon, I will put a link below to buy a single purchase ticket. But just so you know, you're saving about $25 and getting all kinds of bonus content if you just join the Patreon to get access to it. And if you want the rest of this reading, of course, the monthly mystics over on my Patreon is the place to be for the extended readings on the new and full moon. And the great thing about this, if you don't know much about tarot card readings that happen online, is that you infuse your energy by being present and just watching this video. If you want to infuse your energy a little bit more, like and subscribe on YouTube. And then if you want to really refine the message so that it really feels like it's more catered to you, join a smaller collective. And because the Patreon is a much smaller group watching these videos, it becomes a very hyper-focused reading. So now that all of that is out of the way, we're going to dive in. We're starting with our Total Betty Goddess deck pull, which I do for every reading. This is a deck that I created, which is 90s icons playing the goddesses. This is the first edition of the deck, which is still very limited number available over on my website. So if this sort of composition notebook interests you, or if you are just really into having the first incarnation of something, even as it grows and expands and gets better, that's your bragging rights right there. And now I have a special going on that if you buy this oracle deck, you will also get the coloring guidebook for free, which used to be an additional amount to purchase. So head over to michelleshewalker.com and purchase that if you want it. Or if you're interested in getting the newest and best version of something, the Total Betty 2.0 deck is coming out very soon. I just ordered the sample print of this design. So in about 1 to 2 weeks, I'll be able to get that and make sure that the proof is good. And if the proof is good, I will then be ordering the full stock of this 2.0 deck. Now, a little note, if you're not familiar with pre-orders, they're super important for especially small business owners like myself, because the amount of decks that you're ordering is obviously going to affect the price. So what I'm doing is I'm offering a special deal on the pre-orders for both the 2.0 deck and the time capsule, which we'll talk about in a second, where you'll order at the price that's listed, but if anything happens that I get an influx of orders and I can make the deck cheaper, you will be guaranteed the cheapest price of this launch if you are part of the pre-order. The reason that is because from my supplier, if I order more decks, I get a cheaper price. And if I can get a cheaper price, I want to give you a cheaper price. So if you can help out with that Total Betty pre-order count being extra high so that I get a little more discount, you will also get a little discount. So those are over at michelleshewalker.com. And again, like I said, there's also a little time capsule over there. So if you want extra goodies with your 2.0 deck, check that listing out as well. They're all pretty easy to find. They're pretty prominent even on the main page, but they're all on the shop page as well. So without further ado, we'll dive into our Total Betty deck, and then we'll go into the general collective where I do the earth, air, fire, and water readings. So our Total Betty Goddess for this Aquarius moon, which by the way, is super steeped in some subconscious messages for me. So if you've been having crazy dreams, you are not alone. I hope you're taking notes. The Aquarius moon is kind of more the ethereal, more tapped into like sort of like the alien aspects of the universe as opposed to sort of like the dreamy spiritual aspects of the universe, but still a really non-conventional connection energy comes about with Aquarius energy. Whoa, we threw a card. So that is our goddess. Give me just a moment. So our Total Betty Goddess for this Aquarius full moon is Hera, played by Jennifer Aniston as Rachel Green in Friends. First of all, just a little side note, some of the cards in this deck got a little makeover, and Hera is one of the ones that got a little color spiffing up just to be a little more in alignment with her origin story. But this is a card that is about really kind of trying to stay in your own lane. So Hera is traditionally kind of a more jealous goddess. She's the goddess of motherhood and home and family, but she has a history of being very jealous because she is the wife of Zeus. And any woman who's married to Zeus has a right to be jealous because those jealousies are not unwarranted. But this card is a message to really recognize that looking outside of yourself at things that make you feel lacking is an opportunity. It's either an opportunity for jealousy, which is not a very productive emotion, or it's an opportunity to recognize the outside world as a mirror back to you for what you want to integrate within yourself to feel more complete. So this is a message that's saying that if there's anything in your career life, in your love life, or in your social life that feels like you're feeling a little twinge of jealousy or envy, you are being invited to shift that perspective so that you can make that jealousy into something that's productive. And that means that you look at what it is that you're jealous of from the outside world, and you ask yourself, okay, well, that's great. Now I have a list of things that I want to integrate into my life. So it's not about coming at it from a place of lack and thinking, oh, I'm so jealous that that person has something that I want. It's, oh, I'm so thankful that this person exists in the world so that I can then see what I want and then figure out how to get it. And then sometimes that person that you're jealous of also is offering a blueprint for how to get there. So allow that to be sort of like your roadmap or suggestion for what it is that you're gonna do to get to what you want. So Hera is actually a really positive card in the Total Betty deck, even though it is about a jealous goddess. It is also about recognizing the places that you are available and able to grow. So with that in mind, we're going to move into our elements. We're using the Modern Witch Tarot, which is my new favorite tarot deck, for our elemental readings. And because we are in an air sign for this moon, we will start with the air signs and move through the other elements. So if you are watching this on YouTube, I will be putting timestamps below so you can skip around. Bonus, you should be watching this on YouTube because in order to infuse your energy in this reading, just like you would like want to shuffle the deck or touch the cards if this was in person, you want to hit the like button and the subscribe button so that your energy is now in these cards to be read. So we are going to shuffle up this deck and find out what this Aquarius moon has in store for our air signs, which is Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And we're going to do an energy and advice reading. An energy underneath the deck of the King of Swords, and an advice of Justice. These are some powerful cards. This feels very much being in the seat of your power during this full moon. So if you're not feeling that, maybe take a look at the areas that you're feeling jealous of others and embrace some aspects of their life that can make you feel more powerful. But this is definitely cards that are, first of all, kind of mirroring one another. So that's a nice little addition to this reading. So if you're an intuitive reader, all the tarot cards have a meaning and it's great to know those things. But when you read cards intuitively, like I do, you integrate both the traditional meaning of the card and the visuals that like sort of stand out to you whenever you're doing the reading. You kind of trust that that is standing out for a reason. So the fact that your energy and advice are mirroring one another tells me that this should be a pretty easy integration of this energy. And you're basically coming from a place of learning to create better boundaries in your life and learning to really establish your power in a way that feels, I want to say productive is the word that's coming forward, and establish your power in a way that makes you both stern but also a beloved leader is what this is telling me. There's definitely a feeling of taking no bullshit, whether it be that you're watching this reading for your career, for your romance, whatever your focus is currently. This is a reading to be like, okay, cut the crap out. So if you are dating people that are not showing up for you in the way that you want them to, or don't have the qualifications that you want in a lover, just cut that out. Literally, cut it out. We have so many swords in this reading to cut this out of your life. And you are an air sign, which means that your element is the swords. It doesn't mean that you have to be mean. That's what I'm getting here. Justice especially is coming forward with this energy of being very stern and firm with your boundaries, but not letting that come across as alienating to others. So essentially this is a card that's like, just because you're cutting someone out of your life doesn't mean you have to pretend that they've died or think that they're a bad person. That's really what this is. So this is a lesson in both discernment and forgiveness and acceptance. This feels like the biggest message that I'm coming forward is relationship story. So if it's not a relationship story for you, if this is for your career, for your work, just take it as a metaphor and apply it elsewhere, because it's going to be the easiest way for me to tell this story. If you are dating someone who is not able to show up for you in the way that you want them to, you're going to establish those boundaries and be like, hey, this isn't working for me. I'm going to need to either date someone else or need X, Y, and Z for this to work. So be very clear and communicate what it is that you want. But then also, if that person's not able to show up for you in that way, don't judge them as a bad person. There's this concept in psychology that's called splitting. That's when certain personality disorders will see things as either all good or all bad. Like it's just a black or white world. And we all have an element of that to us with any personality disorder. Like the reason it's a disorder is it's something that we all have a little bit, and then it just becomes extreme. That's a side note from a psychology nerd. But the thing about this is that the splitting isn't productive, because it prevents you from really looking at the nuance of the situation, and it also prevents you from looking at your own stuff. So if you are attracting people or attracted to people that are unable to show up for you, there's something on your side of the street that needs cleaned up as well. It's not all their fault that these people that you're attracted to are not able to show up for you in the world. You need to tweak your attraction. You need to tweak what it is that you are doing within your dating world to call these people in, because you're clearly calling in people that aren't a match for what it is that you actually need. So turn the mirror on yourself and see where it is that you need to kind of improve either your thought process around dating or improve your tactics around dating. Maybe you're taking the wrong avenue towards finding the person. Maybe you're not supposed to be on apps. Maybe you're not supposed to be at bars. If you're an introvert, like, you don't have to go to bars to meet people, because you're gonna meet people that like to go to bars, and then you're not gonna wanna go to bars later. So just allow yourself to be forgiving of people's limitations, because they are also a sign that you are showing up to the situation with some limitations of your own that need healed. So don't do that splitting. Don't think of the world as all good or all bad. Just think of people as human beings. And when you start to think of people as human beings, you also can see yourself as a human being, and you can stop judging yourself for not being perfect all the time. Wow, that was a lot more of a deep dive into your mindset than I thought it was going to be, air signs, but I think it was a really important little message for you. So I hope that that served you well. I hope that you can apply it to whatever situation it resonated for you for, and we're going to move on to, let's do earth signs next. So my earth signs, we have Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. We're gonna shuffle up the deck and find out what your energy and advice is for this moon. This deck is very sticky. I feel like that means I'm not supposed to shuffle anymore. So let's see what comes forward. We have the energy of the King of Wands and the advice of the Nine of Swords. So very similar to our air signs before this, this is about owning your power. The king cards are always about like really stepping into your ownership over your abilities and your communication style and your big picture vision. The interesting thing about this one, as opposed to the last reading, is you earth signs have a little out of your element energy here, because earth signs would be pentacles and you have wands, which are fire, and swords, which are air. So the swords, I think, are the element of air from this full moon coming in to sort of infuse the situation with a little fresh energy. But it feels like what's been happening for you earth signs is you have been called recently to find a seat of power in an area that you don't feel quite at home in. So maybe it is that you are branching out to a different career or a different aspect of your career that's a little unfamiliar. Maybe you are dating someone that is unlike anyone that you've ever dated before. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's stretching your comfort zone. And earth signs don't really like having their comfort zone stretched. So we are talking about, if you're dating, you might be dating a fire sign. That might be what this is about. But it's also about passion and creativity and embracing a little more impulsiveness, especially with the Knight of Swords as your advice. So I know you like your plans. I know you like to feel really grounded and rooted, but you are being challenged by this full moon to be a little more driven by your passions and allowing yourselves to take action on those passions without necessarily having a concrete plan. So this is an act before you're ready type reading. This is definitely a feeling that there's something that's been calling you or something that you've been called into. Again, maybe you've been appointed to a role, or maybe you've just been feeling called towards something. And in that, you are feeling a little uncertain because it is a little out of your element and it might be happening very quickly. So if you feel passionate about it, follow that thread and just allow yourself to dive in. Earth signs, I am gonna pull an additional card from underneath the deck, which I don't normally do, but I feel like I want just a little bit more for you. Ooh. The Devil. Okay, this is still the same story, but it gets juicier. The Devil card is basically saying that you are being asked to walk away from a pattern of behavior or relationships that isn't serving you and you feel chained to it. So there's definitely a lifelong habit here that you thought was good for you, that feels really comfortable, but it's actually a little toxic. So it could be a relationship pattern, it could be a communication pattern, it could be just a way of doing things like daily rituals. So look at that. Ooh, I feel like it's different for other people. I'm getting multiple stories. For someone that's watching this, it is a daily routine that you swear by that actually is not serving your creativity and your passion. It's like draining you. For some of you, it's a relationship pattern where you are attracted to a certain person, and that's why this new person is being called into your life that's completely different from who you've dated before, because you're being challenged to shake up those patterns. If you're that person, I don't know that this person that's being called in is the perfect person for you, but they're the perfect person to bring up this upheaval of the patterns that aren't serving you. And then there's definitely a feeling of communication being key. So for across the board, one of the patterns that you are reprogramming is how you communicate your thoughts and your feelings. So if you're the type of person that bottles things up and doesn't talk about it, might be time to learn to do that. If you are the type of person that tells everyone every thought on your mind, might be time to replan that and put some boundaries around that. Put a container around where and when you're sharing things. So earth signs, again, like my air signs, I feel like this was a more therapy session style reading than I was expecting from these cards. But again, for both of you, you're stepping into your power because of this change. So it might feel uncomfortable a little bit. If you need more information, I feel like both of these readings, both air and earth, can really serve from the extended reading. There's going to be additional, more micro-focused stuff there. So if you want to join the Patreon, join the Patreon. But if that was enough for you, good luck. And feel free to tell me in the comments what's going on or how it goes for you. Moving forward, we'll go into our water signs. My fellow water signs, we are diving into our Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. I got it in the right annual order that time rather than just talking about my sun and my moon first. So Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, we are moving into your Aquarius full moon reading. And underneath the deck, we have an energy of, Six of Cups, makes my Cancer heart happy. And on top, Eight of Cups, advice. Okay, Cancer, we're in our element, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be comfortable. Six of Cups. Right now, you are in a place where you're being called back to this beautiful place of childhood nostalgia. Maybe you are embracing interests from your childhood that you haven't had in a long time. Maybe you're returning to a place that feels very familiar and very good. I know that's for me. I just moved back to Chicago and I feel like my entire soul is singing at the aspect of being back in the city. And maybe you're connecting to relationships in your past that you haven't found in a while that are connecting you to this past version of yourself. And I say childhood loosely. So for me, I'm returning to Chicago and I moved here when I was in my mid-20s. So like, it's something from your past. So childhood might be a little bit more of a too specific term, but for some of you it could be. It could be you're connecting to family, it could be you're connecting to something from like when you were an actual child that you enjoyed doing, a pastime. Through this, we're being called to walk away from something. So what's coming through here for my water signs is you're being called back to something very familiar and cozy. But there's an element of this familiar cozy thing that is not serving your present self. So you're gonna wanna go back into the full comfort of everything being the same and familiar as it was the last time you were here, and you're gonna need to tweak it. It's gonna be slightly different, and you're gonna have to walk away from an aspect of that past. So by revisiting your past, you're gonna find something that served you then, that, or maybe it didn't serve you then and you just didn't know, that no longer serves you, and you're gonna be called to walk away. So again, just like my other readings, I feel like there are a ton of stories coming through for this collective. If you want a more focused reading, join the Patreon. But this is definitely about, for some of you, it's that you are returning to an old relationship or relationship pattern, like you're dating someone that's very similar to someone that feels like it's a callback to your past, but there's a different way to do something within that relationship. You have to walk away from a pattern that you've been having in that past relationship. So you can't do everything the same, which should be a given, because if the other relationship didn't work out, you want to do this one differently. For some of you, it could be that you're returning to a location that feels very familiar, but the place that you thought you were going to live, or the community you thought you were going to surround yourself with has now changed. It's different, and you need to walk away from some aspect of that. You can still have some of the familiarity, but it's not going to be all the same familiarity. For some of you, you're returning to a family connection. And in that family connection, this one feels like the heaviest one, but we can still use it as a metaphor for all the other ones. In that family connection, you're gonna uncover some things from the past that weren't as warm and cozy as you thought they were. So it's almost like flipping through an old family album and seeing some photos that jog some memories that were like, ooh, that was not pleasant. And so you come into the situation thinking you're gonna get this like warm, cozy, familiar blanket around you, and then you realize that there's some scratchy spots to this blanket that need to be mended or need to be like cut out. I feel like I want more. My air signs only got the 2 cards, but the earth and water, I feel like I need 1 more card for this. So let's see. Whew, 4 of Cups. We have another cup for our water signs. So we are in our element with this, swimming in our emotions, swimming in our emotions. However, I want to say, as I'm getting a little like refresher of how this is applying to my life, this doesn't have to be super intense. So don't get too caught up in the fact that this is going to be like a really traumatic thing. It is going to be traumatic if you insist on holding on to what you thought something was going to look like. If you insist on thinking everything is going to look like it did before, then this is going to be a very traumatic process. If you allow yourself to be fluid, which water signs are usually okay at, you then will be able to kind of ebb and flow with this and find the best emotion. So the 4 of Cups is telling me to follow what feels good. So as you're revisiting this past thing in your life, and you have this picture in your head of how it's going to play out because you've been here before, if something doesn't feel good, walk away from it. It's that simple. So even if it's a super heavy topic, that's what's coming through for you. If something doesn't feel good, even if it's what you had in the past and you thought it made you feel good then, walk away. Because there's something better and more in alignment for you, and then you can still have the other aspects of this past comfort that'll still be there, but you don't have to deal with the past trauma, or you don't have to re-traumatize yourself. And again, I use the term trauma loosely. This could be as simple as you know, wanted to, well, I'll use my own example. You wanted to move into an apartment and have it feel like your last apartment, but the last apartment didn't have a good view, and now you're getting an apartment that has a better view. So it can be an upgrade, but you're walking away from something that was familiar from the last time around. It's not that it can be an upgrade, it is an upgrade. It always is an upgrade. It just may not be obviously an upgrade when you first walk away. And then down the line, you'll be like, oh, this is why I walked away from that thing that didn't serve me, because this thing is way better. So I hope that reading served you, water signs. If you need more, head over to the Patreon for the monthly mystics. And finally, we have our fire signs. So fire signs, let's shuffle up the deck. and find out what this Aquarius full moon has in store for you. Underneath the deck, oh, fire signs, your energy is the Ace of Cups. So there is a movement of love and creativity coming into your life. And then on top of the deck, we have the Two of Pentacles. Fire signs, you are a breath of fresh air after all these heavy therapy style readings. Okay, so fire signs, you have something fresh and new coming into your life. It could be a new romance, but I don't want you to get too caught up in that. It's a new infusion of love and passion and creativity in your life. If it comes in the form of another person that's a romantic partner, awesome. If it comes in the form of a creative project, awesome. If it comes in the form of a creative project, it might lead you to a romantic partner. So if you're really wanting the romantic partner to be a part of this reading, just put that in your manifestation box. Two of Pentacles is the advice here, and that is saying that you have to find some balance in order for this to flow freely. That means that essentially you just gotta put your attention to what feels like it needs the most attention at the time. This is a time management reading for you. I feel like this could be a situation where you have a creative project that is outside of your current work and you wanna just dive into the creative project and not pay any attention to your work, and you have to actually pay attention to your work sometimes. So know that it's gonna be a juggling act, and just like this girl is doing. And if you can learn to do that juggling act, if you can learn to find that balance, then you're gonna find this nice, fluid, flowing, loving energy in your life that feels very good. You know what? I'm gonna do one more card. So my air signs were the only reading that were straightforward and didn't need an additional card. I feel called to just do straight from the top of the deck here. So, Ten of Wands. Put down something that's not working. That's how you're gonna find this balance. So this new creative project or this new love that comes into your life is gonna wanna take up a lot of your time. But you have other shit that you're doing. Don't ignore the other shit, it's important. It's the reason that this person came into your life, because you were focusing on your stuff. So if you stop focusing on your stuff to focus on this person, you're gonna throw the energy out of balance and that person's gonna go away. Trust me on this. So, to keep that person in your life, even if they say they wanna spend every single moment with you, and they're the ones that are trying to get you to not go to work, keep doing your shit. Keep doing the stuff that you were doing that created the energy that called that person in, because that's what's gonna keep them around. So in order to do that, you have to put something else down. So you have the two things that are most important to you. This new creative project, this new relationship, and maybe it's your work, your job, maybe it's your family, like whatever this other obligation is that you were focused on before this came in. And there's like 5 other things or 1 other thing or whatever. There's a number of other things that you're also trying to juggle, and the universe is like, you get to juggle 2 things. So anything that's not those 2 important things, either walk away from it completely or put it on pause. Again, I said at the beginning of this, before we even got into it, it's a time management reading. That's what you got as fire signs. But if you can do that, really great blessings coming your way. Amazing fresh energy. So congratulations. All right, if you enjoyed those readings and you want more, patreon.com/Michelle Shea. I'm gonna add in all the cards that were in the elements back into the deck so they can shuffle up with a full deck, and we will be moving into our full spread with many, many cards, usually about 10 to 12 cards. And again, it's a hyper-focused reading because it's a smaller collective over there. So I'm gonna shift gears. I already feel the clarity coming through just by like releasing the collective. Thank you for watching this. Like and subscribe on YouTube if you're watching there. Share it if you liked it. Share it if you know someone that has one of those elements and could serve that message. And we are gonna dive into the full Patreon reading. So if you're watching on Patreon, the rest of your reading starts right now. So the 3 of Swords coming in after all that stability is actually a blessing from the universe, because any part of us that was like, I'm bored, I wish something would happen. This is something happening.